No one showed up to my graduation. A few days later, my mom texted, "I need $1,800 for your sister's sweet 16." I sent a single dollar with a polite congrats, and finally put myself first. I thought that was the end, until one unexpected message made me question everything I knew about family. "Where's your family?" That's what my classmate asked me after graduation, scanning the crowd with innocent confusion, expecting to see my mother waving, my sister cheering, somebody proud of what I'd accomplished. I lied. I said they were running late. The truth? Not a single one of them showed up. And 4 days later, my mother had the audacity to text me asking for $1,800 for my sister's party. No apology, no explanation, just another demand like I owed her my entire paycheck for existing. That's when I snapped. I sent her $1 with congrats and changed the locks on my apartment. I thought that was the end. That I'd finally put myself first and could move on. But the retaliation came fast. Police at my door, my identity stolen, my credit destroyed. And then came the message that changed everything. A text from my Aunt Diane, someone my mother had kept me away from for 15 years. "We need to talk. It's about your mother, and some things you deserve to know." This is the story of how I stopped being invisible. And how one unexpected message revealed the family secret that explained everything. Let me start from the beginning. The graduation ceremony took place on a perfect June afternoon in Denver. The sun gleamed off the stadium seats, and the air buzzed with excitement as families clutched bouquets and phones, ready to capture every precious moment. When they called my name, Maya Elizabeth Hartwell, Master of Business Analytics, I instinctively searched the reserved family section. Empty metal chairs stared back at me in perfect, devastating rows. I forced myself to smile for the photographer, gripping my diploma frame so tightly my knuckles turned white. Around me, the celebration exploded. Students embraced their parents. Friends screamed with joy. A little boy ran across the grass holding a sign that read, "That's my sister." I stood alone, trying to make myself smaller, invisible in a crowd of hundreds. Paya. Jenna, my study partner, bounded over with her entire family trailing behind. Her mother immediately pulled me into a warm hug that smelled like vanilla and home-cooked meals. "You must be so proud, sweetie. Where are your folks?" The lie came easily, years of practice. "Oh, my mom had a work emergency. She feels terrible about missing it." Jenna's mom made sympathetic noises and insisted on taking photos with me. Their kindness somehow made the emptiness worse, like salt in a wound I'd been pretending didn't exist. I posed between strangers who cared more about my achievement in 5 minutes than my own mother had in 26 years. The drive back to my studio apartment in Aurora felt endless. I watched other families stream into restaurants, graduation balloons bobbing from rear windows, and I let myself imagine, just for a moment, what it would feel like to have someone waiting for me. To matter. This wasn't the first time they'd abandoned me on a day that should have mattered. They missed my undergraduate graduation too. That time, Mom said my younger sister Brooke had a regional cheerleading competition that was absolutely critical for her future. When I made the dean's list my sophomore year, she was too busy. When I got accepted into grad school, she asked if I was sure it was worth the debt. The pattern was so consistent it had become almost comforting in its predictability. At least I always knew what to expect. Nothing. What I'd learned to expect was being the family bank account. Started when I was 17. I got a job as a cashier at Target, then picked up weekend shifts waiting tables at a local diner. Half of every paycheck went straight home without me even being asked. Mom's texts always had the same tone. "Brooke needs new competition shoes," or, "Can you help with the electric bill this month?" They were phrased like requests, but we both knew they were demands. I told myself it was temporary. That once I finished school, once I had my degree and a real career, things would change. They'd finally see me as more than a convenient source of funding. They'd see me as their daughter, their sister, someone worthy of love that didn't come with a price tag attached. I was wrong. 4 days after my graduation, while my cap and gown still hung on the back of my bedroom door, my phone lit up with a text from my mother. The message was short, transactional, devastating in its casual cruelty. "I need $1,800 for Brooke's Sweet 16. The venue needs a deposit by Friday." I stared at those words until my vision blurred. No, "How are you doing?" No, "Congratulations on your master's degree." No acknowledgement that she'd missed the most important day of my academic life. Just a number and a deadline, as if I existed solely to fund everyone else's happiness. My savings account held just under $4,200. Every penny scraped together through sacrifice, side hustles, and living on ramen for 2 years. That money was supposed to be my emergency fund, my security deposit for a better apartment, my small insurance against a world that had never been particularly kind to me. Something inside me that had been bending for 26 years finally snapped clean in half. I opened Venmo with trembling fingers. I entered the amount, $1. Added a note, "Congrats on the party," and hit send. The transaction went through instantly. Paid. I sat there for a full minute watching that word glow on the screen like a declaration of independence. Then I stood up, walked to my kitchen junk drawer, and pulled out the spare apartment key my mother had insisted I give her for emergencies. I dropped the key in the trash. The next morning I called a locksmith. He arrived within an hour, a weathered man in his 60s who hummed old country songs while he worked. When the new deadbolt clicked into place with a satisfying finality, he handed me 2 shiny keys. "Fresh start?" he asked. "Something like that," I murmured. That night my apartment felt different. The silence wasn't lonely anymore. It was peaceful. For the first time in my adult life, no one could walk through my door uninvited. I thought that was the end of it. That I'd finally set a boundary and could begin building a life that belonged to me. The retaliation came 2 days later. Someone pounded on my door, an aggressive, insistent hammering that made my pulse spike. Through the peephole, 2 Denver police officers stood in my narrow hallway. I opened the door with a racing heart. "Can I help you?" The taller officer held up his badge. "Maya Hartwell? I'm Officer Dawson. This is Officer Kim. We received a wellness check request from your mother, Patricia Hartwell. She claims you've been unresponsive and she's worried you might be in crisis." The words hit me like a slap. "She said what?" My voice came out sharp with disbelief. Officer Kim stepped forward. "May we come in? We just need to verify that you're safe." What choice did I have? I let them into my studio apartment. Officer Dawson glanced around at my spotless counters, laptop open to job applications, dishes neatly drying by the sink, my framed diploma on the wall. "Have you been experiencing any mental health crises recently?" he asked. "No," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "I just finished my master's degree. I'm job hunting. I'm completely fine." "Any recent conflicts with family members?" I explained everything. The missed graduation, the years of financial demands, the $1,800 text message, my decision to send $1 instead, changing my locks. Officer Dawson's expression shifted as I spoke. "So you set a boundary," he said slowly. "And your mother didn't respond well." "She responded by weaponizing the police against me," I said bitterly. Officer Kim sighed and handed me a card. "We see this more often than you'd think. People use wellness checks as punishment when they lose control. We'll file this as unfounded. If she tries again, reference this case number." After they left, I sat on my couch, not with fear but with fury. My own mother had tried to make me look unstable because I'd said no for the first time in my life. If she was willing to go that far, what else had she already done? The answer came the next morning. I woke up with an anxious knot in my stomach and pulled up my credit report, something I'd been meaning to check for months. What I saw made the room spin. 2 new credit inquiries stared back at me. Chase Bank and American Express. Neither of which I'd applied for. I clicked through to the detailed view. 2 credit card accounts had been opened in my name. Both listed my information, but the address on file was my mother's house in Thornton, where I hadn't lived in 8 years. The current balances made my vision blur. $3,400 on the Chase card, $2,100 on the American Express. I scrolled through the recent transactions. Rocky Mountain Event Hall, $1,800. Sweet Celebrations Catering, $2,200. Glamour Party Rentals, $950. DJ Diamond Dave Productions, $650. My mother's text message blazed through my mind. "I need $1,800 for Brooke's Sweet 16. She hadn't needed it. She'd already spent it, using credit cards fraudulently opened in my name. I called Chase Bank immediately. "This is Maya Hartwell. I need to report identity theft." The representative verified my information then paused. Ms. Hartwell, this account shows a co-applicant listed as Patricia N. Hartwell. She identified herself as your mother and stated you verbally authorized this account. I absolutely did not, I said. This is fraud. We'll initiate an investigation immediately. The account will be frozen pending the outcome. I made the same call to American Express. After I hung up, I sat in the morning sunlight, completely numb. My mother had stolen my identity, racked up thousands of dollars in my name, and then tried to extort me to cover her tracks. I opened the voice recording app on my phone. Colorado is a one-party consent state. I could legally record our conversation without telling her. I took a deep breath and called my mother. She answered on the second ring, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Why, I was just thinking about you, honey. Were you? I said calmly. Were you thinking about me when you opened 2 credit cards in my name without my permission? The silence was absolute. What are you talking about? She finally stammered. Chase Bank and American Express, I said evenly. Both opened at your address. Both used to charge thousands of dollars for Brooks Sweet 16. The same party you demanded $1,800 for, after you'd already spent over $5,000 using my stolen identity. Aya, you don't understand. No, you don't understand, I cut her off. I've already reported the fraud to both banks. There are active investigations. You used my name and social security number without consent. That's identity theft. That's a federal crime. I was trying to help you build credit, she said desperately. By destroying my credit score? And then when I wouldn't give you more money, you called the police and tried to have me committed. I was worried about you, she shrieked. You changed your locks. You sent me $1 like I'm some kind of joke. You've treated me like a joke my entire life, I said quietly. The only difference is I'm finally done laughing. I ended the call and saved the recording. Evidence, June 3, 2025. The fraud investigations moved quickly. Within a week, both credit card companies confirmed the unauthorized accounts and began removing the charges from my credit report. My mother was held fully responsible for the debt, over $5,500, plus interest and fees. Word travels fast in small communities. Within days, I started getting messages from people I hadn't heard from in years asking about the credit card situation. I didn't respond to any of them. Brooks Sweet 16 became the event everyone talked about, but not for the reasons my mother hoped. The venue demanded cash payment up front. When my mother's cards were declined, the party was quietly canceled. Brooke called me that night sobbing. You ruined everything. Everyone at school is talking about us. My party is destroyed and it's all your fault. Your party was paid for with fraud, I said flatly. Mom stole my identity and committed a felony. I didn't ruin anything, she did. She's your mother. Family is supposed to help each other. Family doesn't steal from each other, Brooke, I said softly. And family doesn't weaponize the police because you said no. She hung up on me. I blocked her number. For 2 weeks, blessed silence. I filled out paperwork, met with a credit counselor, started applying for jobs in other cities. I was ready to leave Colorado entirely, to build a life where nobody knew my history. Then on a Thursday afternoon my phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. Maya, this is your Aunt Diane. We need to talk. It's about your mother, and some things you deserve to know. Can we meet? I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. Aunt Diane. My mother's older sister. I hadn't seen her since I was 11 years old, right before some massive family blow-up that was never explained. One day Aunt Diane was at every gathering, and the next she was erased like she'd never existed. Whenever I asked about her, my mother's face would go tight. Diane is toxic, she'd say. She's jealous and manipulative. We don't talk about her. But what if my mother had been lying about Diane the same way she'd lied about everything else? I typed back, when and where? Her response came immediately, Saturday 2 p.m. Stella's Coffee on Colfax. Come alone. This is important. Saturday arrived with clear skies. I drove to Stella's Coffee 30 minutes early and sat in my car watching the door, second-guessing everything. At exactly 1:58 p.m., a woman walked up to the entrance. I recognized her immediately. Aunt Diane looked older, her dark hair now streaked with silver, but she had the same sharp eyes I remembered from childhood. She was carrying a large manila envelope. I got out of my car and walked toward her. When she saw me, her expression crumbled into something between relief and heartbreak. "Maya," she breathed. "Oh honey, you look so much like your grandmother." We went inside and found a corner table. Diane ordered us both coffee, then set down the envelope between us. "I don't even know where to start," she said quietly. "Start with why you disappeared," I said. "Start with why my mother made you sound like a villain." Diane laughed without humor. "Because I tried to tell you the truth. And your mother couldn't let that happen." She opened the envelope and pulled out documents. Bank statements, legal papers, and photographs. Old pictures of my mother, young and smiling, holding a baby that wasn't me. "Maya," Diane said gently, "there's something about your family that you've never been told." She slid a document across the table. It was a savings account statement from 1999. In my grandmother's name. With a beneficiary listed, Maya Elizabeth Hartwell. The balance made my breath catch. $127,000. "Your grandmother set this up when you were born," Diane explained. "She knew your mother struggled with money, so she created a trust fund for your education. It was supposed to go to you when you turned 18. My hands went numb. I never received anything like this." "I know," Diane said, tears forming in her eyes. "Because your mother emptied it. She forged the necessary documents, claimed she needed it for your education, and spent every penny before you were old enough to know it existed." The coffee shop seemed to tilt around me. What did she spend it on? Diane pulled out more papers. Receipts, bank transfers, credit card statements. A new car. Home renovations. Brooke's private school tuition. Dance competitions. Vacations. Everything except what it was intended for. "That's why I went into debt for college," I whispered. "That's why I worked 2 jobs. That's why I took out loans while Brooke got everything handed to her." "Your grandmother's money paid for Brooke's childhood," Diane said bitterly, "while you sacrificed yours to survive. Why didn't you tell me sooner?" I asked, anger rising in my chest. "I tried," Diane said, her voice breaking. "When you were 11, I confronted your mother. I told her I was going to tell you everything. She threatened to get a restraining order, claimed I was unstable and trying to turn you against her. She cut me off completely and told you I was toxic and dangerous." Everything clicked into place. The years of being treated like an obligation instead of a daughter. The constant demands for money. The way Brooke was elevated while I was dismissed. My mother hadn't just been neglectful, she'd been covering up theft. "There's more," Diane said quietly. She pulled out another document. "Your grandmother also left you her house in Lakewood. A 3-bedroom home fully paid off. Your mother sold it 6 months after Grandma died and kept the proceeds. Another $340,000. I couldn't breathe. Nearly $500,000 that should have been mine. Stolen, spent, erased from existence. I've been documenting everything for years," Diane continued, "waiting for the right time to reach out. When I heard about the credit card fraud, I knew you were finally ready to hear the truth." She pushed the entire envelope toward me. "This is all yours. Every receipt, every bank statement, every piece of evidence. If you want to pursue legal action, you have everything you need." I sat there, staring at the pile of documents that represented my stolen inheritance, my stolen childhood, my stolen life. Why did she hate me so much? I whispered. "She doesn't hate you," Diane said softly. "She resents you. Your grandmother loved you more than she loved your mother. Left you more than she left her own daughter. Your mother has spent your entire life punishing you for being loved by someone she could never please." The truth settled over me like a heavy blanket, suffocating and clarifying all at once. My mother hadn't just been neglectful or selfish. She'd been systematically destroying any chance I had at financial stability because in her twisted mind, I didn't deserve what her own mother had tried to give me. "What do I do now?" I asked. Diane reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You decide. You can pursue criminal charges for the fraud and the trust fund theft. You can walk away and never speak to her again. You can try to negotiate restitution. But whatever you choose, you do it knowing the whole truth." I left Stella's coffee that afternoon with the manila envelope clutched to my chest and a clarity I'd never experienced before. For 26 years, I'd believed I was the problem. That I wasn't good enough, didn't sacrifice enough, didn't love hard enough to earn my family's affection. But the truth was devastatingly simple. My mother had stolen my future and then convinced me I should be grateful for the scraps she left behind. 3 days later, I sat in a lawyer's office in downtown Denver. "Based on what you've shown me," the attorney said, reviewing Diane's documents, "you have a strong case for both criminal fraud and civil restitution. The trust fund theft falls within the statute of limitations if we can prove ongoing concealment." "What would that look like?" I asked. "Criminal charges for identity theft and fraud. She'd likely face probation and mandatory restitution. Civil suit for the trust fund and property sale. You'd be entitled to the full amount plus interest, which would be somewhere around $650,000 in today's dollars." The number made my head spin. How long would it take? A year, maybe 2. And it won't be easy. Family cases rarely are. I looked down at my hands. The same hands that had worked double shifts to send money home, that had gripped my diploma while standing alone, that had trembled while changing my locks. "Do it," I said. "File everything." The lawsuit was filed on a Monday morning in July. By Tuesday afternoon, my mother's lawyer had called requesting a meeting. I refused. By Friday, local news outlets had picked up the story. Woman sues mother for $500,000 in stolen inheritance. My phone exploded with messages. From former classmates, distant relatives, people I'd never met. Some supportive, many cruel, all curious. I ignored them all except one. It was from Brooke. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about Grandma's money. Mom told me it all went to taxes. "I'm so sorry, Maya. I'm so sorry for everything." I stared at that message for a long time before responding. "I believe you. But I can't have a relationship with you right now. Maybe someday. Take care of yourself." The legal battle dragged on for 18 months. Depositions. Court hearings. Mediation attempts. My mother fought every step, claiming the trust fund was a family resource, and she'd used it for the greater good. But the evidence was overwhelming. In March 2027, the judge ruled in my favor. Total restitution: $687,000 including interest and penalties. My mother was also convicted of identity theft and placed on probation. She never apologized. The money hit my account on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. I sat in my new apartment in Boulder, a bright 2-bedroom with mountain views, and watched the numbers appear on my banking app. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt tired. And free. I used part of the money to pay off my student loans. Invested a portion. Donated $50,000 to a scholarship fund for first-generation college students who'd aged out of foster care. Kids who, like me, had to build their futures without family support. And I bought myself something I'd never had. Time. Time to figure out who I was without the weight of their expectations. Time to heal. Time to build a life that belonged only to me. On a warm September evening, almost 3 years after my graduation, I stood on my balcony watching the sunset paint the mountains gold. My phone rang. "Aunt Diane. How are you doing, sweetheart?" she asked. "I'm good," I said and realized I meant it. "I'm actually really good." "Your grandmother would be so proud of you," Diane said softly. I smiled, tears forming in my eyes. "I wish I'd known her better." "She knew you," Diane said. "That's why she left you everything. She saw who you'd become." After we hung up, I stayed on the balcony until the stars came out. I thought about that girl standing alone at graduation, smiling for a photo while her heart broke. I thought about the moment I sent that single dollar and changed my locks. About the fear and fury and eventual freedom. Family is supposed to be the people who show up. See, who celebrate your victories and catch you when you fall. For 26 years, I kept trying to earn that from people who were never capable of giving it. But I'd built my own family now. Aunt Diane, who'd waited 15 years to tell me the truth. Jenna and her parents, who'd made space for me at their table. The lawyer who'd believed my story. The scholarship students I'd never meet but whose lives I'd helped change. And most importantly, myself. I'd shown up for me. I'd seen me. I'd chosen me. And that, I realized, was worth more than any inheritance. The day after my graduation, I thought nobody had shown up. I was wrong. I did. And I've been showing up for myself ever since. If you've ever had to choose yourself when your family wouldn't choose you, you're not alone. Drop a heart below so I know you're out there. Your story matters. You matter. And one day you'll stand on your own balcony watching your own sunset and realize that being your own hero was the victory all along. If this story of standing up for yourself hit you right in the heart, smash that like button right now. My favorite part was when Maya sent that single dollar with, "Congrats," and changed her locks for the first time. What was your favorite moment? Drop it in the comments below. And if you've ever had to choose yourself when your family wouldn't choose you, you're not alone. Let me know where you're watching from. Don't miss more powerful stories of boundaries and justice. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload.